All right, everybody, if I can have your attention. We're going to start the opening ceremonies for the 50th Annual Autumn Open. Just want to say thanks for everybody for coming down to listen to our speech, and anybody watching online, welcome. We're going to take a little trip through time, the 50 years of the Autumn Open, how it came to be, and the 3 centers that were involved. Takes a lot to put on an event like this year after year, and 50 years is a major milestone, and I couldn't be more proud of our team at the moment and all the teams that came before us to ensure this tournament's success. I just want to quickly thank all the volunteers and anybody behind the scenes who help these tournaments happen, whether it's the Autumn Open or any other major 5-pin bowling tournament. You are appreciated, and thank you. We're going to start with this year's sponsors. Try not to bore you too much. We do have a few. Andrew Van Pelt, White's Flowers, Mr. Snops, Soft Roll, Mugshots, Brost Chiropractor, Italian Supermarket, Village Brewery, Morgan Contracting, Nature's Carpet Cleaning, Appliance Installations by this guy, Calgary Cavalier Sheraton Hotel, the WCVT, Bradson Promotional Group, our 2 title sponsors this year, Lipdex and McCanna. We have one of our sponsors in the family is here, Brett Russell, and we got something for you at the end, so don't go anywhere. But outside of those awesome sponsors, here at Paradise Lanes, since it's been here since 2009, we've had 2 running sponsors, and we want to say thank you for not just once again sponsoring this year, but the 12 years that you've sponsored prior, or 15 years, I should say. So we're going to start with, call Juan and Bobby up from Big Al's Bar and Grill.
There you go. Are you proud? And we really do appreciate everything.
We hope you have a great turn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All the way.
And our second sponsor, since it's been at Paradise, that I'd like to thank is Alberta Bolt Makers and Chris Thompson.
We're done after this.
Okay, with that said, we're gonna, like I said before, we're gonna take a trip through time. I'd like to invite Mr. Don Sim to the approach to get us started.
Well, 50 years. First of all, I would like to thank the committee this year for inviting me. It's a great achievement, and what they've done on the last 11 years is truly remarkable. Thank you so much for continuing the heritage of this tournament and improving it over the years. Secondly, I would like to salute the 5-Pin Universe and the Western Canada Bowling Tour for their dedication and promotion of our sport throughout Canada. A truly ambitious endeavor that has grown to the voice of 5-pin bowling, which I, like many others, will continue to support. Thank you. Over the years, over the last 10 years, I've been documenting the history of 5-pin bowling, and I'm not participating anymore, so I'm going to share a few moments leading up to this tournament. Competitive bowling in the 1959 and 60s was restricted to league tournaments, city tournaments, or open trials for the Western Canada teams. The top 7 ladies and 6 men advanced to the 8-game Eastern Championships throughout Western Canada. They often bowled in 3 events. For the youth, the alley operators had a youth tournament every Saturday morning, and it was overseen, which eventually led to the high school championships. PepsiCo, the sponsor, and Mr. Baldwin organized it. The original 6 zones for the Western Canada in 1947 expanded to 24, and over the years, smaller zones such as, believe it or not, Turner Valley, Drumheller, Revelstoke, Weyburn participated. Lane size and accommodation became a major problem, and in 1974, the event became provincials. In the 1960 Winnipeg Bowlers, Norm Shannis, Ed Lynch, Dylas Turner approached the manager of Village Inn Bowl, Ken Klippenstein, to run the Manitoba Open, a 32 bowler qualifying match play event over 2 days. Large entries were received from Alberta and Saskatchewan, with hopefuls making the lengthy drive. I, along with others, bowled a Thursday night league in Calgary, hopped in the car, and set out for Winnipeg in the most reliable vehicle. The tournament format was a great success, and it soon followed the Saskatoon committee, led by Al Hunter, duplicated the event by starting the Molson KG Open. Edmonton entered the fray with Dennis Lang Windsor Bowl hosting the first Rose Bowl Open. Burnaby Lougheed Lanes had a 50-game marathon, 22 hours, in the early 60s with a top prize of a $1,000 bill. We took the trade out for that one. Calgary's premier tournament was the Fairview Masters, which ran as a 20-game bowl-a-thon on Saturday night, but was converted to an 18-game total pinfall in 1968, thanks to Bill Plum and host Marv Allen. Entries were 150 and were full by New Year's for the February event. Entry fee was $35, top prize $4,000. Many changes of our sport have gone over the years. Gone are the free fall, wooden pins, Brunswick house balls, and the counter pin. One significant improvement would be the personal bowling balls. Bill Douglas and I got the first distributorship after flying to Boston and meeting with EPCO and Richard Perella. Thank you, and now to the Autumn Open, Mr. Barry Ellert. Thank you.
Been a long time since I had to use one of these. First of all, I'd like to say, I'm the reason that all of you are here today. The bowlers I know are happy to be here today. The staff and the tournament committee that have to put in their 40 or 50 or 60 hours may not be so happy that I was the one that was had started this tournament. It was about 52 years ago. God, it seems like a long time. It was about 52 years ago. I was a 21-year-old kid, and I was working for Fairview Bowling Lanes at the time. I worked up, Fairview Bowling Lanes was in the North Hill Shopping Center, a beautiful 48-lane house. 48 lanes straight across, not one pillar, in the lanes, a high ceiling. It was an absolute cathedral, I call it, for bowling. It was just a masterpiece, 48 lane house at that time. As I said, I was about 21, 22 years old at that time. I worked my way up from a porter up to assistant manager at that time. And the bowling tournaments were just basically getting started. And as Don mentioned, there was about 4 of them at the time. And I thought there was room for one more tournament. I wasn't stupid to think that, but I was crazy about bowling. And I loved bowling tournaments. It wasn't work for me to try and put this thing together. Remarkably, to try and do it today, you couldn't pay me enough money, you know? There's just too damn much work involved. Anyway, we got a bunch of people together to try and put this thing together. There was Don Sim and myself, Toshi Tamagi, and Doug Robertson from Saskatchewan. And then we got Des Reed on board, the manager of Chinook, said that he would hold the tournament in his 32-lane house. We had discussed a new format. We wanted something that combined match play and medal play together. At the time, there was only match play tournaments for 10 gamers, 15 gamers, and 20 gamers. But there was nothing that combined the two. We came up with the format. It's exactly the same format that was 50 years ago, what you're using today, except there's more bowlers in it. Rather than qualifying for, they're taking 48 bowlers now. Back then they took 32, and it's increased with the increase in the amount of bowlers that are participating. Like I said, so we got the. I'll try to drag this out too long. Anyway, we had to get the entry forms made up. And we went to a gentleman that worked in a printing shop in an oil company. And we asked, his name was Bobby, and we asked about, do you think you could run the entries for us? We need about 500, 600 entry forms printed on both sides. And he says, yeah, I'll be glad to do that for you. And I said, well, it's just one thing, Bob, we have no money. We kept everything on a string budget, and he says, that's no problem. That's no problem. Well, Bob, I said, how about if we just buy a case of beer? He said, yeah, that'll do it. For printing up 500, 600 entries. And a case of beer at that time, I think it was about $4. I'd like to mention at that time, there were no fax machines. There were no computers. There were no emails. There was no computer scoring. There was dial telephones. There was no personal balls. And there were no bars. So how did we do it? Canada Post. We got all the bowling houses from Saskatchewan, BC, Alberta, Manitoba, and a couple in Ontario. And we got a hold of them and said, please mail us out the bowling houses in there. And they mailed us that. And then they mailed all the entries and everything through Canada Post to all the bowling centers across Western Canada. And the other thing, the bowlers at that time had to, of course, mail in their entries, and most of them just mailed us a check, or else when they came to the bowling lanes, they paid it at that time, paid cash. Bowling centers at that time did not take credit cards. And I don't think we had one bounce check, if I can remember correctly, not one. So both were pretty honest back then. The next thing we needed were scorekeepers. So we got 2 or 3 people together and we asked them, could you please phone up a bunch of people, and we need about between 100 and 130 scorekeepers. You got a 32-lane house, you got your shift on Friday, 2 on Saturday, constellation. And these people had to get on the phone, use that dial telephone, to phone all these people up. Thank heavens they didn't have the 403 number in there at that time, and they would have had 10 digits to dial for each one. Thank heaven, they filled every spot for the scorekeeping, and each scorekeeper at that time got a cup of coffee or a soft drink and a sandwich for working an 8-game shift, believe it or not. As time went on, we managed to pay up $4 a shift, you know, big time money at that time. We were on budget. And of course, all the posting and everything that was done were done on huge pieces of paper that had to be lined and posted on the wall. Small pieces of paper that you see today. And the office staff were just absolutely marvelous. There was Reed Davidson there and Des Reedman, and it just took a tremendous amount of work to put this on. The first year we had 60 entries and 40 repeats. The entry fee was $60. The second year, I'm guessing we had 100 entries and 50 repeats, and we had Labatt sponsor. Course Labatt, they couldn't throw us any money, but they throw us a whole bunch of free beer, and we had a hospitality room in the hotel and everything, and everybody was welcome to that for free beer and snacks all weekend, so it worked out pretty good. At one time, we had hit 300 entries back to back. Unfortunately, I don't remember what years they were, but that was a milestone for the tournament. And something that most of you do not know, Kelowna, BC, held a 10-game tournament, 10-gamer, the first weekend in August, when it's 25 to 30 above, and they started out slow, but people flocked to that tournament. And I believe the person's name was Jack McCarson, his 16 or 18 then bowling house. They filled it. The people just flocked to it, and believe it or not, they hit a milestone of 300 at one time. Just absolutely remarkable. Okay, I'm getting close. I'm just about done. We had one perfect game here, and it was Randy Main from Maple Ridge, BC, and I think it was in 2021. One thing I do want to mention, my participation in this tournament was for 5 or 6 years or 7 years. It was minimal. The amount of work that I had done is about 1,000th of 1%. Because I had basically had nothing to do with the tournament. The 3 bowling houses have done an absolutely remarkable job to make it to 50 years. It's very, very remarkable. I'm just going to make this short and sweet, but there's a couple things I wanted to mention that might be of interest to you. That population of Calgary was about 400,000 at that time. Now it's about 1.4. They used to have about 10 or 12 bowling centers in this town. I think we're down to 3. That's unfortunate. And, the price of food, you could buy a hamburger and a Coke and a fries for about 50 cents. The minimum wage was $1.25 to $1.50. A one-bedroom apartment was $120 a month. Hotels were around $25-30 a night. You could buy a car from $2,500 to $4,000. Color TV finally came into place around 1973. And the thing that is most remarkable about this all, back in those days, 80% of the population smoked cigarettes or cigars or whatever. You could smoke absolutely any place you wanted at that time. When you think about it, it's absolutely crazy. The only place you couldn't smoke was church. And hopefully the operating room of when people were getting operated on, hopefully they weren't smoking at the time. Anyway, I want to thank you very much for your patience. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today and for keeping this tournament going. This tournament is basically goes because of the volunteers and the committee and the people that work on this long weekend. They're giving up their weekend, this Thanksgiving weekend, and they deserve all the credit. And the bowlers, thanks for coming up. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. You've been most gracious. Thanks very much.
In case you guys haven't noticed, Mark called us up by the dinosaur ages. Don said first, then Gregory, then I'm the next oldest. I promise, this will be quick. I'm reading from Chinook Bolodrome. Chinook Bolodrome was proud to host the Autumn Open for 25 years, from 1973 to 1977. There is an asterisk because it was there only really 24 years because of a water main break, and they moved it to Fairview for that 1 year and still called it the Autumn Open, Chinook Autumn Open. For many Thanksgiving weekends, some people renamed the Bolodrome the Bruce Mortar Drome. The incredible Bruce Mortar, 7-time Chinook Autumn Open champion, 1984, 86, 88, 89, 91, 93, 94. And I never won a penny on him. In all the Calcuttas, never won a penny. The things, this is from Fran. The things I remember the most about Chinook Autumn Open: the green jacket presented to the champion in the early years, the maple leaf commemorating each champion. Each leaf was cut and hand painted by one of Chinook's longtime league bowlers, the late Duarte Torres. We just lost him a few months ago. All of the great bowlers of the day who came to play and other bowlers who entered, just to be able to say that they played in the Chinook Autumn Open. I was the general manager of Chinook Bolodrome for 6 of these Autumn Opens, 92 through 1997. I think 97 is the most memorable Chinook Autumn for me for the several reasons. 1997 was the 25th anniversary of the Chinook Autumn Open. We gave out commemorative polo shirts to the first 100 paid entries that year. In mid-September, workers were doing some wall renovations above the Bolodrome and tied into some very old gray water pipes. When that water started running through the pipes, you guessed it, the pipes burst and lanes 17 through 20 were hit with a lot of gray water. Peter Bauer sent George, Nelson, and Hillary to the rescue. They had those lanes dried out, resurfaced, and ready to go mere days before the first qualifying shift. No stress there. Mid-September, I was admitted to the hospital for surgery. By Thanksgiving weekend, I was only able to work for a few hours each day. The staff made me go home and rest after the second qualifying shift Saturday morning. I protested, saying that I likely miss a perfect game. They said, "We'll phone you and tell you about it." Later that day, I was getting ready to head back to Chinook when the phone rang. It was the Bolodrome. I picked up the phone and said, "Who bowled the 450? It was Gino Zebar, the only player to bowl a perfect game at the Chinook Autumn Open at Chinook Bolodrome. 1997 Chinook Autumn Open was the final Autumn Open to be hosted at Chinook. The atmosphere at Chinook Autumn Open was always special. The competition was amazing. Bowlers were excited to be there. The staff was excited to work it, and it was very exhausting, but so special. Thank you to Topper Bowl and Paradise Means for keeping the spirit of the Autumn Open going, so that this year we celebrate the 50th anniversary of this great tournament. Fran Clark, Chinook Bolodrome. On a side note, Barry made a comment about scorekeeping. Heather Weber was in charge of the scorekeepers. We had to take lessons on how to scorekeep. And they had, I'm Italian, so my hands are gonna talk here. They had the screen with the light underneath, and you had to write on there, and some of us have burn marks to prove that we score kept. It was so hot. And you had to do the strike one way, and you had to do the spare the other way. A last note on the Chinook part of it. Every volunteer that worked at Chinook Autumn Open for Fran Clark has passed away. And they all were very good friends of all of ours. So from Fran, she wishes you all the best and lots of good games, and let's get some perfect games. Those are Fran's words. Thank you. Daisy?
All right. I'd like to thank Mark for letting me know about this way ahead of time and getting a lot prepared for today. So I brought the plaque, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the Autumn Open when we had it at Toppler Bowl. So I remember we bought Toppler Bowl in 1996, 97, I believe. And Chinook was, they had called and said, do you want to take over the Autumn Open? And I remember being so excited because I had bowled it at Chinook and it was so much fun. And then it came to Toppler, and not knowing how much work this was going to be, because as those who work in the background, you don't know that you put in so many hours. And as was spoken before, there was no internet, so there was no mailing or no like emailing entries or anything. It was picking up the phone and it was calling and mailing, and I remember doing a lot of stamping, and it was crazy. It was a lot of work. I don't remember all of the years, as we had 10 years because I was much younger back then. And I had 2 babies throughout then, so I'll just touch on a few parts. I just found out today that we had to delay the last shift the first year because of the Toshi Tamagi funeral. So that's a fact I had no idea about. Toshi was a big part of the Chinook Autumn Open, volunteered there, and I believe the photographer for everything for the 5-pin, right? Also, Len Ansat just told me this morning that we believe that Don Claire Hugh, when he won in 2000, is the only winner from Saskatchewan, I think. What? Oh, Kerry doesn't count. Tom Stevenson, big deal, won by over 500, so he didn't even have to play the last game, so that was always a highlight for him. Adam Weber started his reign at Toppler Bowl, winning 2006, 2008. We had one perfect game by Wes Payne, and I believe it was 2003, but I, like Fran, missed it because I was at home very pregnant. And we're honored to have the only female to ever win the Autumn Open in 1999, Jennifer Marshall, who still carries the highest score to this date. Right, Don? And I would just like to wish good luck to Mark and the staff this year, and congratulate Chinook, Toppler, and Paradise for 50 successful years of the Autumn Open. And I will pass this on to Mark.
All right, I am now, this is on behalf of Paradise. So when Adam Weber and I found out that Toppler would not be hosting the Autumn Open, with very little time, Adam and myself approached Linda Bruner to ask if Paradise would take the Autumn Open. Linda already at that time was fighting throat cancer. She was had just bought the lanes the year before, so she really wasn't 100% sure on it. But we convinced her and Greg that we could do it. She wasn't 100% comfortable with us, but she had a very big soft spot for Adam. And she had an even bigger spot for Mark Miller, who was one of our YBC kids at the time. She was very stressed, but Adam convinced her that it would be a breeze. And because she had a soft spot, she gave us her blessing. I can't deny that I was terrified, but between Linda and we got through it. Adam then recruited Mark to help to eventually take over, and has made this tournament what it is today. When Linda got sick, she still looked forward to this event. And we had many meetings at her house to make sure that we had everything in place. Linda passed away the week before the autumn in 2015. And Mark, Greg, and myself were at a loss and just barely made it through the weekend. Mark and I had to learn really quick everything that Linda did. She always did all the financials, and I'm a financial person, but I wasn't ready for that. Weird things were happening, and we knew Linda was with us. We had the ball return starting when nobody was here, breezes in the office when Carrie and I were counting money, so we knew she was with us. She, even with all the stress, she enjoyed this tournament. She enjoyed seeing everyone here. We got through that weekend, but I don't know how, because we were all in a state of disbelief, and somehow we just made it through. Who would have thought that 15 years ago, I would still be standing here involved in this amazing event? I have no idea what keeps me coming back, but I'm here. I've lost this weekend. I'm doing this event with both of my partners of crime, not in the picture, both Linda and Adam. But I do want to take this time to thank Carrie Schaefer. She's been with me since the very first Autumn Open, and she puts in just as many hours as Mark and I do. Thank you to my amazing friend. Thank you to Greg for always being there to help whenever needed. Today he called himself the janitor. And thank you to Mark Miller, who has made this one of the best tournaments. And we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for Mark. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we're starting to cut short on time, so I'm going to keep this brief. I am looking forward to the 50th Autumn Open. I hope you guys are. I want to thank, let's have a huge round of applause for Maria. She's very selfless, and she has been here from the beginning. I was actually not on the committee to start at Paradise Lanes. I actually didn't get onto the committee in 2012. But while it's been years since I've been on the committee, we've had one perfect game, Randy Main. We've had a two-time winner here at Paradise Lanes, Adam Weber. And for the last decade, we've had 10 different winners. So I like to see different people win all the time, and I hope that tradition continues. Maria said on behalf of Chinook, Bruce is a 7-time winner. Frank Levine deserves a shout out. Your first 3-year Autumn Open champion, a little Frenchman who threw the ball with the backup spin. I did not get to see him bowl, but I've heard he was extremely accurate and one of the best pinners in the game. Adam Weber, a 4-time champion. Pat Pinko, a 2-time champion, winning at Chinook and Toppler. So congratulations to them. Again, Chinook 73 to 97, Toppler 98 to 08, Paradise 09 and counting. We reached 50 years. I truly believe this is Calgary's tournament. I'm proud to be a Calgarian. And if you're not from Calgary, you're okay too. I want to thank Greg, the proprietor, who puts up with all the shenanigans we do every year. Aside from Marie and Carrie, there's been 2 volunteers that have been by my side every year, and I believe they deserve recognition, and that's Aaron Cassidy and Damien McDonald. So, clap, 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 clap. They're all behind the scenes guys, and it's really appreciated. And with that said, welcome to the 50th annual Autumn Open. We're gonna have, did he pass out? we were gonna have our, is that gonna throw the ball? We were gonna have our little Gabriel throw a bowling ball for us, but, it looks like, we've gone on long enough. So we're gonna get Brett to throw the first ball, then we're gonna throw in the practice, and we're gonna start the first shift of 5. For anybody who's here, anybody who's coming down, good luck in the 50th Autumn Open.